Israel, you'll find many museums and memorials which commemorate some historic figures whose work was critical in securing the Jewish state. Here we are in the center of Tel Aviv to check out a comprehensive archive and museum exploring the life of Zev Z'Botinsky. A Zionist leader, a chief commander, and an influential writer, Zev Z'Botinsky was one of the most significant figures in the history of Israel. He dedicated his life to work relentlessly in trying to create a Jewish state. Throughout his life, he founded Jewish militant groups, self-defense units, and underground organization. The House of Z'Botinsky aims to promote his legacy and the organizations he created.
Z'Botinsky is a combination of a dreamer, a vision, a man of vision, and a man of deeds. He didn't just declare about ideas, he also fulfilled them.
The Institute holds one of the biggest and oldest archives in Israel, with a collection of pictures, flags, articles, and correspondence from different significant points of his life, spanning from his birth in Odessa all the way up to his death in New York.
Let's see the Rasviet. Rasviet is a Russian paper that was published in Europe in the 20s and the 30s. Z'Botinsky published his stories. He wrote letters against the British mandate because he resented the way that the British didn't fulfill the Balfour Declaration. He wrote articles about the Jewish regiment, the idea of a Jewish army that he fulfilled in 1917, and the idea was that the Jewish will help Britain to conquer Israel.
Beschoss England im Jahr 1917 hat uns gegeben die Balfour-Deklaration. Was hat die englische Regierung in jenem Moment gemeint mit dem Ausdruck Nationalheim? Hat sie bei ihm es gemeint, nur schaffen an einem Ghetto?
In his lifetime, Z'Botinsky transitioned from the life of a writer to a fighter. And not just any fighter, but the founder of the Jewish Legion, the first Jewish fighting force in the modern era.
I exchanged the soft palm of a poet for the iron hand of a pioneer.
The Jewish Legion was the first step in liberation and was meant to help British efforts in seizing Israel from the Ottoman Empire.
Here you can see the march, the first march of the Jewish Legion in the streets of London. Here we can see Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson that is riding on his horse. And here we can see Lieutenant Z'Botinsky, which got his rank of lieutenant just the night before.
The exhibition features not only personal artifacts of Z'Botinsky, but a multimedia presentation, giving visitors greater insight to the life of this inspirational figure.
In April 1903, the terrible shock of the Kishinev pogrom led me to conclude that the Jewish people must establish its own state. I then joined the Zionist movement. Already then it became clear that the only thing that can save Jews from slaughter is self-defense.
Z'Botinsky felt it was critical to educate and empower the next generation of Jews about nationalist ideals. So he established the Beitar movement, which spread all across Europe.
Here we can see flags of a Beitar movement that was founded in 1923. We have a collection of hundreds of flags from all over Europe and also from Israel.
The Beitar movement gained a very large following and was the childhood inspiration of several people who eventually went on to become significant politicians. In 1930, Z'Botinsky was banned from entering the land of Israel and moved to New York to build support within the United States for a Jewish army.
Z'Botinsky died in New York in 1940, but his bones were buried in Israel just in 1964. Why? Because Ben-Gurion didn't allow to bring his bones to Israel. Just after Ben-Gurion resigned from the Prime Minister, as a Prime Minister in 1963, Levi Eshkol allowed to bring Israel the bones of Z'Botinsky and his wife.
אדוני ראש בית"ר, אבינו, מורנו ורבנו, שבת לארץ אבותיך ובניך.